Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a good day. I want you guys to come into the chat. I want to say welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. If you're not Black and intelligent, then you probably want to leave because we are about to have intelligent conversations about intelligent issues that affect Black people. Now, you guys know that typically we have Powernomics Thursday. Powernomics Thursday usually happens at 2:15 p.m. Eastern time. But today we were not able. We were not. Let me turn this off. We were not able to do 2:15. But we are here now. I think it's 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. So as we talk, what we always tell you guys that we are coming and we are here, and we're glad to see every single one of you. And so I want to say hello to everybody who's in the chat. Kalinda Skybreaker, Tuan Burgess, Tammy, Kaladine. I see Plush Pillows, Hannibal. How are you, Nilak? Please hit the thumbs up button as you come in. Hit the thumbs up button and shout out the city that you're from. Shout out your city. And without further ado, I want to ask my good friend, Dr. Claud Anderson. How you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, still alive, still kicking, and still loving Black folk, even though sometimes I question my mentality for doing it, but I still love Black folk.
Well, you know, we all love Black people here, and ain't nothing wrong with loving Black folk. If you love Black people, then say it in the chat. Say, I love Black people. So that we know where you stand and what you believe in. Do you love Black people or do you not love Black people? Where do you stand? Who are you and what do you represent? We represent Black first here on this platform. We believe in putting the Black community number one, putting the Black community at the top of the pile, putting Black people number one on our priority list. In the Black Business School, the number one thing that we work on, the number one problem that we're here to solve is what we call the Black wealth equation. We care about nothing else. We don't care about what's going on with Asians or whites or anybody else. No disrespect to anybody else, but we love Black people, and that's why we exist. And so, Dr. Anderson, I know Powernomics does the same thing, and I want everybody to type this URL in the chat, powernomics.com. Before we begin the conversation, I want you to just consider this. Consider going to powernomics.com and giving your family a gift that will last a lifetime. If you go to powernomics.com, now sure, you could go buy your child some toys, but they're going to break in 6 months. You could buy them some clothes. They won't have those clothes in 4 years. You can go take them out to dinner. The dinner won't last in their body for more than a day. But you introduce them to principles of economics and empowerment. You introduce them on the principles of wealth. That's going to be with your family for the next 50 years, intergenerational, the next 100 years, 200 years, because good habits and bad habits pass down generation to generation. So the URL is powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. So without further ado, please hit the thumbs up button, everybody that's watching, because we're about to have a great conversation. So first thing I want to ask Dr. Anderson is this. You went to the Breakfast Club finally, and I remember when Charlemagne the Guy, who was one of the hosts of the Breakfast Club, he had texted me. I'm gonna tell you all the truth right now, y'all. I really feel good that I get a chance to play a tiny part in what I consider to be major Black history. Let me tell you, let me go ahead and brag for a minute. I don't even know if it sounds like I'm bragging, but I'm really, really proud of this. Charlemagne, I remember when Charlemagne reached out to me about getting Louis Farrakhan on the Breakfast Club. I made the connect. I connected the two. And next thing I know, Farrakhan was on the Breakfast Club. That was transformative. Why? Because for 25 years, the media has tried to block out any voices that appeared to be independent and Black. Tariq Nasheed, I remember Tariq Nasheed was looking to connect with the Breakfast Club. I connected the two together. Next thing I know, Hidden Colors is being discussed on the Breakfast Club. I was very, very proud of that. More proud of when I was on the show. I've been on there about 4 times myself. I don't care if I ever go on there again. They've heard from me. I want them to hear from the Black people that can actually help us to lead into the next generation. The most important interview, or one of the most important interviews, top of the line in terms of importance, is Dr. Claud Anderson. Why? Because Powernomics principles are a solution that is not taught in school. This is a man who should be, Harvard University should be begging this man to come teach on their faculty, but they don't, because they would rather have you learn from lame people than from strong people. They'd rather have you learn from people who don't understand what's going on with Black wealth than to learn from people who become experts in Black wealth. So Dr. Claud Anderson went on the Breakfast Club. I text Charlemagne to find out when the interview is going to show, but I just want to say, and thank you for indulging me, let me share this, Dr. Anderson. But I'm super excited. One of the greatest, happiest contributions I've ever been able to make in my life is connecting you two. So tell me, Dr. Anderson, you went to New York, you were on the Breakfast Club. How did it go?
Well, first of all, let me express my appreciation for your making that recommendation and providing me with an opportunity to be on the Breakfast Club. To be perfectly candid with you, it was hell traveling up there and hell coming back. and cold as hell once I got there. So, I mean, New York is cold and everything there moves in a New York minute. Okay. So, again, just getting back out, trying to recover for some medical handicaps I've had over this past year. I'm sort of slow moving and riding the accelerator up, I called hell, because the thing kept wobbling back and forth. And I just kept saying, why in the world I'm trying to get to New York? And then when I got to New York and got off, the damn temperature, like it must have been close to zero. I felt like it. And then trying to get across the street to get to the studio, the damn traffic comes by at 200 miles an hour. And the darn traffic monitoring on the corner, the traffic signal gives you 17 seconds to get across. And I said, now how can I get across this street walking as slow as I'm walking? I'll never make it to the other side. I might make it to the center and get run over by a damn truck, and another one might back up on me once I get knocked out in the center of the road. But anyhow, I finally made it across the road and got into the studio. And I went up there and I got a chance to meet both the hosts. What's the name? What's the first one's name again? Jeremy.
There's Charlemagne the God, DJ
yeah.
Envy, and then there's Angela Yee. Angela is the one woman on the.
No, the woman that wasn't there, just the two guys. And the two guys were there, and they were magnificent. They really, truly surprised me. And I have to say this publicly. They surprised me. They were kind, they were generous, they were very respectful. And I enjoyed talking and conversing with them. And they were much brighter and keener and sharper on some of these racial issues than I suspected they would be. But they were very tentative. And every time I said I'm over my time, they said, no, don't you worry about it. You just keep talking as long as you want to talk. And so instead of spending about 20 minutes to half an hour, I was there for about an hour and a half. And they said, you just go on as long as you want to. But they asked some extremely good questions. Like, for instance, let's talk about politics. Let's talk about the solutions. They said, Dr. Anderson, at the bottom line, what is our major problem? Why is that we can't get ahead? And I said for a very specific reason, because no one has really gone back and truly addressed the whole purpose of slavery and what it meant to Black folk in this country. What was the purpose of slavery? I said, nobody ever asked that, didn't address it. And I said the whole purpose was to be able to use Black folk as a laboring class, and to enrich themselves off of Black labor, and to systematically maldistribute almost 100% of all this nation land, resources, businesses, in property, minerals, rights, privileges, controls of all levels of government to the hands of the dominant white society. That happened during slavery, and when they had 99.5% of ownership and everything in the country. Today, we still sit in a situation in this country where whites still only control 99.5%. That was an excellent question. I responded to that. The next question they asked, I thought was an excellent question. But they said, well, Dr. Anderson, what do you think about the present political candidates? I said, I wouldn't trust one of them as far as I can throw this damn building. I said, because most of them know what the hell they're talking about. I said, haven't you all noticed, that they are very judiciously fixed on making sure they never mention anything about Black folk except getting out to vote. They never talk about getting out the benefits. I said, they said, well, which one are you going to vote for? I said, that's not the question. I said, the question that every Black person should be asking in politics. The first asking is not what candidate you're going to vote for. Who cares about what candidate you're going to vote for? The question is, what are you voting for? What are you voting for? If you don't know what you're voting for, don't vote. I said, don't let people trick you into talking about, well, we need to pick, if you don't like either one of the candidates, why don't you pick the lesser of the evils? I said, that's a stupid position for anybody to take. If somebody were to tell me right now, Dr. Watkins, that if Dr. Act in 1845, which says never address anything particularly that would benefit Black folk, that is a gag rule that was put in place during slavery 15 years before the end of the Civil War, point one. Point two, in our society, Blacks are a third rail. They are a third rail, just like on a metro's liner or railroad track. The third rail is the one that carries all the charge, electric, that can kill you. The voltage is in that third rail. Black people are a sleeping giant in this country. Nobody wants to touch that and address it. So consequently, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, or liberal or conservative, nobody's going to ever mention anything about Black folk. They're scared of Black folk, and they got a gag rule. And so the one when you mentioned, what's the name again? Jermaine, whatever it is.
You mean DJ Envy, or there's Charlemagne the God, DJ
Charlemagne. I can't ever remember the name. Charlemagne. He said, I never thought about it. So nobody ever told us and mentioned all that to it. He said, things you're saying, we never heard it before. I said, that's why I'm here. And I appreciate being here. But to make a long story short, they asked some good questions, and they were very attentive. And they also admitted that some of the things I was saying they had never heard of. And they finally found some solutions. The questions have been bugging them for most of their lives. And nobody's ever asked the questions or answered the questions for them. So I enjoyed both of them. I enjoyed the program. And and they said, what, would you be willing to come back again? I said, whenever you invite me, I'll come back again. And I would.
Okay. All right, everybody. I'm speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson. Dr. Claud Anderson is the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2, and the Black History Reader. His website, if you want to check out his books for Christmas, his website is powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. Also, make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel when you go to that website as well. And these make great gifts for your children. He has a library pack with all of his books plus a DVD for just $99. I encourage you to consider giving your family the gift of education as Christmas comes up. Also, you feel free to check out our program for kids at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Hit the thumbs up button on the count of 3. Everybody, please hit the thumbs up button. Also, hit that subscribe and notification bell. So we're going to do this after on the count of 3, and then after you do that, type Black Power in the chat to let me know that you're done. 1, 2, 3. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Hit the notification bell, subscribe button. Type Black Power in the chat to let me know that you're done. And also, I want to say thank you to the Not Dumb podcast for your donation. If you make a donation in the chat, I prefer it be, do at least $10. Don't be all cheap and crazy. But if you make a donation in the chat, we will mention the name of your business. So it's a good low-cost advertising for your company. So feel free to make a donation in the chat with the super chat. So that's the Not Dumb podcast. So everybody go subscribe to that podcast and go support the brother in their podcast. So maybe it's a sister, I can't tell. But either way, though, I am going to support. So anyway, so Dr. Anderson, let's jump into this then. So the Breakfast Club is I'm gonna tell you, man. The Breakfast Club is very surprising because they are I'm really impressed with the fact that they allow into mainstream media a lot of ideas that are banned. There's a racist ban on independent Black thought. There's a racist ban on Black thought that is not acceptable to the majority white society. Most media outlets, you go on the Today Show or CBS, things like that, they'll vilify a Black person in a minute, or they'll uphold some Black person who's doing something that's ridiculous and embarrassing. They'll celebrate that. But the people that really resonate with the community, like yourself, or like or even a Farrakhan or whoever it is, they won't even let those people talk. And that right there tells me the nature of racism. That when you don't even want Black people talking, that really speaks to me about what your original intention actually is. That you're trying to control and manage Black people in a certain way. And so,
can I jump on that point before you go to your next one? That's the whole nature of racism, what you just summarized, Dr. Watkins. That's the nature of racism. What Black people fail to understand, which is beyond my imagination and comprehension. I don't understand. I've been telling Black folk for 60 years what racism is. Racism came out of this whole concept of race. Race as a concept never existed in human behavior until about the 1500s. And it was put in place initially by Pope Innocent in 1488. But there was no such thing as race. Nobody was talking about races. They talked about tribes, they talked about nations, they talked about religious groups, but they never talked. There was no such thing as a race. Racism came out of 1480 Pope Innocent's public edict. We started talking about how to use slaves appropriately, and at that point they jumped in and put Blacks in there as a race. That's where race started. Now race went to the point to the 1500s. Race comes from the word now is a contest. What is it? When people go to the Kentucky Derby, Dr. Watkins, what are they going to Kentucky Derby for every year? They're going there for what?
To win a race.
What kind of a race?
A horse race.
A horse race. When you go to the Daytona 500 for automobiles, what kind of race is that? It's an automobile race.
Automobile race.
Right. And now, because a race, are they going to those races for horses or for automobiles? For all the horses and the automobiles start out at the same time to demonstrate equality? Are they going there to find equality in those races?
Nope.
What do they expect coming out at the end of the race?
They want to win.
Huh?
They want a winner.
They want a winner, and the horses be win, show, or place. Am I right?
Yep.
So the one who shows up, the winner wins. And the same thing in the automobile race, any other kind of race. Race is a contest where people are competing for the ownership and control of resources, period. And that's what capitalism came from in about 1503. Capitalism means that's a race where people are competing to own and control the land, the tools, the resources, and use other people's labor to enrich themselves. I'm gonna say it again. That's how race was formulated. A race. Why was it called a race? Because you had 9 European nations jumped in together in the 1500s, between 1501 and about 1509. 9 European nations jumped in to compete to develop the Western world. It was in a contest. The French, the Germans, the Norwegians, the British, the Portuguese, the Spain, all of them were competing to use slaves to try to generate wealth and enrichment by going to America, South America, Latin America, and Central, and owning the land to get the land and all the resources in the land. That's why the Spanish, for instance, they shipped almost 3 million black folk just in what you now call Central America or Mexico. Mexico then was called New Spain. It was New Spain. The Spanish sent almost 3 million blacks over there into Central America, which now called Mexico. You know what they sent them there for? To dig for gold and silver mines and resources. So everybody was using black folk for enrichment. It was a race to see who can do it best. And fortunately, unfortunately, the British took it over, and they did it well and best. So the race ended. Here comes the word I was trying to get to. And when the race ended in about 1859, 1 year before the Civil War, the race ended, Dr. Watkins. A race was a contest. It had nothing to do with no damn people. It was a contest. It was a process. That race ended in 1859, 1 year before the Civil War broke out. Why did it end? Because at that point in time, the country, the United States, had acquired, based on the Constitution, 99 or 100% of all the land in America. Whites now own 100% of all the land, the tools, the resources. They were totally in control of everything by 1859. They own everything. They picked up almost, at that point in time, about 2 billion acres of free land, and all the timber on that land, the gold on that land, the chrome, the bauxite, the minerals, the gold, the oil. So the race was over. When the race ended, that's the same time Darwin came out with this thing about the survival of the species and all this stuff. Darwinism. They said now that the race has ended, now we got to make sure that you maintain the relationship. What we've gone through in the race. The race was to get what you just told me, to get a winner. So in 1859, whites in America, they call Europeans in, they own and control 99% of everything. They were 50-foot giants. Now, black folk who had been the tool, the use and the fools for it, they were 1-foot midgets. So you had a 50-foot giant and a 1-foot midget. And when the race ended, black folk owned and controlled nothing, not zero. And so the race ended. And so what they did, then they came up with a concept that says that now the race has ended, and this thing was well thought out. Even though most of the Europeans only had the equivalent of about a 4th or 5th grade education in today's terms. They said, what we do, you take the race and end it. So they took the E off of race, which left only RAC. RAC, when the E was taken off, they took that off, and they stuck a suffix on there called ISM. ISM, so it became RAC, ISM, racism. And what did that mean? The suffix in English says, maintain the prevailing conditions. If one is a 1-foot midget and the other person in the matters now of running this country, one is a 50-foot giant and they're white Europeans, the black ones is a 1-foot midget. Maintain the prevailing conditions. That means that racism means do not let anything change between that. Don't let them change the balance. That's why when they freed blacks in 1860, when everybody was getting resources, land, everything, they set black folk free. They set almost 5 million black folk free to maintain the prevailing conditions. Guess what? They would not give them 40 acres and a mule and $100. You know what they gave them? Nothing, zero. They turned almost 5 million black slaves free, and say now we're setting you free, but you get no land, no tools, no resources, no horses, no animals, no food, no clothes, no organizations, no education, no weapons, nothing. Go out and root. They say called root or die, root hard or die. You got to go out there and dig for yourself and make straw and bricks without any mud. You can't do it. They knew that when they set these black folk free in 1860, in 1864 and 65 after the Civil War. They knew black folk couldn't compete. They didn't own and control anything. And so, that's why right now, and now in 2019, that nothing has changed. Whites still own 99% of all the resources in the country. 87% of that is frozen. You can play all kinds of games, conceptual games about financing. Anybody can do it. But unless you go back and redistribute those resources, blacks haven't got a snowball's chance. Because right now, blacks in America today only have 1/2 of 1% of the wealth. Exactly what they had in 1865, 1/2 of 1%, or in 1860, 1/2 of 1% of the wealth. Now, what that means is that at that time in slavery, they came out of slavery, the average white person had 3,500 more times more wealth than the average black person. And now, and black folk had, and as a matter of fact, not only did the average white have 3,500 times more than blacks, but guess what? I can find 2 to 3 white men right now in America that got more wealth than all 46 million black folk put together. How in the hell are you going to compete at the end of a race when you got 46 million people, Dr. Watkins, 46 million black folk who only control the same little 1/2 of 1% that they had in 1860. Now, what that means now, based on calculations, with the deprivation, since the wealth gap is increasing progressively, getting wider between the race, RACE, blacks and whites, not between any other ethnic groups, not between any gender groups, but the wealth inequality in this country is increasing between inequality is increasing between whites and blacks. That means right now, with 1/2 of 1% that blacks got, that I would say sometime by the year about 2040 to 2050, blacks' wealth will be zero. You had 1/2 1% in 1860, so in about 2040 or 2050, you're going to be down to zero. Now, how the hell are you going to compete? You couldn't compete when you had a 1/2. How are you going to compete with zero? You tell me now.
All right, everybody. I'm speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson. He's the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, and Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. His website is powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. And also, in case you guys don't know, Dr. Anderson and I are going to do a masterclass in the Black Business School in January. We will announce the launch of that class. When the announcement's made, we're going to limit the number of people in the class because the students in this class will be able to ask Dr. Anderson questions directly and be able to speak to him directly. Where you put in the questions, I'll ask the questions and he'll answer them on the air. You'll learn more about this. Just keep checking at drboyceseminars.com. That's drboyceseminars.com. And we also have an event coming up in New Orleans, but unfortunately that event is sold out. So New Orleans, we don't have any more ticket or any more space, but I'm going to try to do a little side event or have a live stream available for our wealth building event with Julian Gordon and attorney Nicole Compton in New Orleans. So I'll keep you guys posted. So hit the thumbs up button, please. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do that. Dr. Anderson, I'd like to show you something real quick. There is a chart here that I grabbed while you were speaking about wealth, and I want everybody to kind of see this equation. And I thought about this a lot because give me a yes or no in the chat if you're aware of the trip I just took to Ghana this month. This month I took a trip to Ghana because I wanted to look for solutions on the Black wealth equation and try to see what's going on around the world so we can understand how all this works and how we can actually overcome this here in the States. Now, those of you on Your Black World TV can't see this chart, but I'll narrate it for you. But if you want to see the actual chart, you can go to drboycetv.com. So, Dr. Anderson, do you see the chart right there?
Yes, I do, Boyce. Yes, okay. I do.
Now, that is wealth over the years from 1988 up until 2018. So that's a 30-year period that they've covered with this particular chart. This is from the Peter G. Peterson Foundation. I don't know who Peter G. Peterson is, but the data comes from the United States Census Bureau, and I'm going to assume that it is relatively accurate. You can see where you've got Black wealth at the very bottom in the yellow. Now, Black wealth has always been at the very bottom of the chart. This is median household income by race and ethnicity in 2018 dollars. There's never a time where Black people are not at the bottom. There's a time around 1995, 96 where we touched Hispanic median wealth, but then the Hispanics started to outpace us after that time, and that's continued. You see also another interesting thing is that there's never a time where the Asians are not at the top. Every race kind of stays in its place. Every race stays in its place. And so, what that made me think about, Dr. Anderson, is when they talk about Black people staying in their place and kind of, what that looks like, it makes me think about the fact that there are factors and there are systems and there's variables that keep Black people where they're at. And that if either they don't change something or we don't change something, then this is never going to change. Meaning, we know what the politicians are not doing, right? The politicians are not even talking about the Black wealth gap really in a major transformative way. So I don't believe politicians are going to do anything. And Black folks are not changing our investing, saving, and spending habits. So I don't believe most of us are going to change that in a significant way. What are your thoughts when you look at that particular chart?
Right, let's go back to the chart a second. Okay, flip back to the chart again.
There you go.
Right, I want to go back to the chart because I know you're well aware of this because you're an extremely sharp company economist. But what the chart you got there really is the income. That's income rather than the wealth.
Sorry. You know what? Sheesh, it is income. But go ahead.
That's okay. No, that's okay. Leave it like it is. That you made a good point just putting it up there. Now look at that. You look at that income level. You go back. You see all that income level. Let's go back to 1988. See at the bottom where it says 1988. See that?
Yep.
Now at that point in time, 1988, Black folk were still under the bottom in 1988. Go from 1988, go all the way across horizontally till you get to 2018. They're still in a fixed position in income. You see that?
Yep.
Okay. Now watch this. Go up to the top now. The highest one up there is the Asians, the green up at the top. Now they were making 70,000 in 1988. They didn't even start coming into the country until the 1960s, the late 1960s, early 1970s. So from the early 1970s, the Asians right there, 1988, they came in. The Asians started coming into the country, and with that green at the top. And they look at them. They kept going up and up and up and up to where they went. They were less than, they came in at about $67,000 to $68,000. They brought a lot of wealth with them. Look where they're going, all the way up to the top. They only been in this country now for about 35 or 40 years. And Black folk been here for 460 years. Look at the difference between Asians coming in about 1967, that was 1968, 1970, and going all the way up to the top in the green. Look at the Blacks at the bottom in 1988. They had a little $30,000. That's a median family income. Go all the way across again. They've gone up now. They're still less than 40,000, close to 40,000. Hispanics then started coming into the country until about 1970. As a matter of fact, between 1970 and 1990, in that 20-year time period, guess what? 46% of all the Black, 92% of all the Black, about 96% of all the Hispanics in the United States today have been in this country less than 40 years. And look at them, they've been here less than Blacks. And look at the time, they're way up over Black folk by 2018, going from 40,000 now up to about almost 48 to 50,000. And so everybody has been progressively going up. Blacks have been itching up, but it's fixed on income at the bottom. And what Black folk need to know though, is that there's a major difference between income and wealth. Income is immaterial if you don't, in the long run. Income is what you get every day for working, for your labor, whatever you're doing to make money. But wealth comes from what's left after you pay your bills. That's wealth. And right now, the greatest form of wealth in this country was wealth coming from labor. Labor, you cannot have wealth without labor. You can't, it's impossible in theory and practice to gain wealth without labor. Somebody has to work and produce it. The reason white folk have all that labor, I know you got another chart. Have you got the wealth chart? Okay, put up the wealth.
Yeah, I do. And I can't believe I missed the word income over wealth. I should know that difference. I didn't even.
No, but that's okay. That happens once in a while, but you're still right on target.
But now here is an interesting chart that has household net worth. That's your assets minus your liabilities by race. And you see here, when you look at all households, you have all households that only have a high school diploma, and households with a college degree. And you see, when you look at all households, whites are at 162,000 in wealth, net worth. That's net worth. Blacks are at 16,000. So here, whites are 10 times greater than blacks. Here, with a college degree, you've got whites at 391 and blacks at 68,000. So so the gap actually shrinks a little bit when you throw in education, but we're still, a black person with a college degree has a lower median net worth than a white household that has a high school diploma. Do you see that? Here, that's 100,000 for whites with a high school diploma. It's 68,000 for blacks with a college degree. You see that, Dr. Anderson?
Yes, I do.
What do you think about that?
Well, right now that's a good chart. As I said, it's not totally accurate, but it's a good chart, at least to give to indicate the dilemma. And because what they're doing, they exclude the structural facts about black folk. Most black folk family, about 38% of them are beneath the poverty line. 38% of all black folk in America have nothing, zero wealth. They're beneath the poverty line. 34 to 35% of all the black children are beneath the poverty line. That means you're way down. You have that's not going to show up beneath the poverty line, and that means that if most of the blacks now we're talking about for wealth, if they were to, most of the wealth they have would be in maybe a little bit of money put into a car or some furniture or a house. But if they were, but at 1/3 of those are now, that would leave blacks at about 65%. If you take a third of that now, if they lose their house, their little car, and their little furniture, that means that's 2/3 of black folk in America go beneath the poverty line. 1/3 is already beneath the poverty line. You got another third that's sitting right on the edge, and the wealth that they got, a little bit of wealth they got is in their house, their furniture, and maybe a car. They don't, and if they lose that, 2/3 of the blacks in America beneath the poverty line. And that's your problem right now, that blacks don't have enough wealth. Wealth determines your opportunities, but black folk have been BS'd for so long, telling them, well, you got social integration and civil rights that will give you opportunities. Civil rights and social integration will give you a damn thing. Neither will vote and give it to you. What gives you the wealth and the greatest power in this country is wealth power. It's what you own and control. If I just told you that if you don't own and control a third of anything because you're beneath the poverty line, another third is sitting right on the edge of the line. All this stuff coming from these academic studies is good, some good indicators, but they're not tight enough and factual enough to give you the actual picture that you need to have in your mind to understand your dilemma.
Well, everybody, in case you just came in, I'm talking to Dr. Claud Anderson. Dr. Anderson is the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. If you want to learn more about his books, go to powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. Everybody, if you haven't done this yet, please hit the thumbs up button right now. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Please hit the share, subscribe button. I would appreciate that as well. And yeah, I'm sorry, Mary Allen. We did sell out in our New Orleans event. We'll try to do something else down there. But the events, the tickets tend to go pretty fast. But we are going to try to do a live stream down there. So I'll let you guys know if a live stream is available. Also, the Not Dumb podcast. Thank you for your donation. And there's a question here. They said that Dr. Anderson, would you agree that white supremacy has been a worldwide enemy, either directly or indirectly, over the last 500 years? Would you agree? It sounds like that's something that you stated before.
Yeah. Whoever the party was telling me that was a good question. That's a good question. But let me go back again, because I sometimes I might over abuse the relationship that we have in this media by reemphasizing some of the same points over and over again. But I just trying to define what race is, and what there's only two races in physical terms. That's the black race and the white race. Everything else is a process. And I told you what the history of racism was. That is a competitive relationship between groups who are competing for the ownership and control of resources. And once they get to capture enough of it, then they use it to abuse, to enslave, to Jim Crow segregate, and subordinate another weaker group. That's what racism is. And to make sure that nothing in the white column ever moves to the black column. Now, the point you just raised about superiority, white superiority. And I try my best to explain this to blacks, to blacks really, not whites. The white folk understand it clearly, is that I tell blacks to be very careful in using the word white superiority. Because right now, because most of our people are not quick enough to understand what that means. You say white superiority. They think you're talking about white skin. And white skin is what gives them the superiority. White skin does not give them the superiority that black folks think it gives them. So what is white superiority? Now listen, I mean, tell your students and listeners, white superiority means he who controls and owns the resources. That's the superiority. If white folk right now own 99% of everything, Dr. Watkins, and 87% of that is frozen in their groups, in their communities, then they are in fact superior to you. What makes white superior to you is not their skin color. Please ask my people to remember that. It's what they own and controls that makes them superior. If they own Wall Street and all the wealth and power, and they can go into any place, anytime, into a black ghetto and tear it down and rebuild a whole city and make it a whole new city with everything for transportation, communication, because they got the money, they got the wealth built up, stacked in their hands. And see, that's why right now in America, right now, Dr. Watson, you got about almost 600 white multi-billionaires in the United States. They can go into any black neighborhood and tear the whole neighborhood down and rebuild it and make it like a Disney World they wanted to, because they got the resources. That is white superiority. White superiority, please tell my people, do not confuse that with the skin color. The skin color just happens to be a cosmetic illusion in front of your mind, in your head. That's not it. It's who owns and controls the resources has the superiority. If in fact I can get black folk and to understand, if you go to Boyce's Watkins program, and he convinced you that if you get more wealth, out of that wealth will come more power. Out of that power, you can produce now resources, and own resources. And resources can then help you build businesses and industries and factories. And as you begin to sell the product, you bring in more wealth and money into your communities, you begin to neutralize that white superiority. You haven't touched their damn skin. You don't have to take their skin and paint it another color. You'll never snatch a white person off the corner, drag them into an alley and paint him blue or black. Forget that crap. What you want to do is to say, what gives you your superiority is because you own and control nearly every damn thing. And so what Dr. Anderson is talking about with powernomics in compliance with Dr. Watkins' big movement in his school is to say, go after the resources, own and control the resources. And that's what's killing black folk. Never has black folk been encouraged to get and own the resources. Not they didn't do it during slavery. They left them out poor, powerless, dependent, with nothing. No land, no tools, no resources, no house, no clothes, no furniture, no animals, no tools, no weapons. That's why they can't compete. It ain't white skin is stronger than black skin. That's not it. But unfortunately, I got so many community activists and politicians and civil rights leaders keep misleading black folk into thinking that somehow white skin is stronger, better than black skin. That's bullshit. It is when they own and control the resources. And am I working with you and with your black business school to say, no, we're going after the resources. And that way we're going to have resources in the black community, resources in black neighborhoods, resources in black industries and businesses. Then we'll have more power. And that way we'll reduce the strength of whites and reduce white superiority down to white mediocrity.
All right. Everybody who's watching, this is Dr. Claud Anderson, author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, and Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. With Christmas coming, I encourage you to support black businesses everywhere. And also, I hope that you'll start by supporting what Dr. Anderson's doing with the Harvest Institute, with the Powernomics Corporation. And also, a lot of you know about Byron Allen's lawsuit where he's suing Comcast. And the Civil Rights Act of 1866, I believe, is part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. But actually, Dr. Anderson has been part of a lawsuit for reparations for black people for many, many years. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of his own money, and he's been fighting for you for a very long time. So I hope that you'll also support what Dr. Anderson is doing so that you can also be a part of that as well. Go to powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. And also in the Black Business School, you guys know that this past week we were part of a business delegation that went to Ghana, and we made lots of contacts. We were actually given access to some land and resources and a lot of things that can actually help us in our fight back at home. And so I'm going to keep you guys posted on that. And actually, I want to talk to you about this, Dr. Anderson. I want to show you this chart again and ask you a question. Now, I want you guys, everybody who's watching, this is for intelligent black people only. I want you to look at this chart And look at this is income. So Dr. Anderson corrected me. I made the mistake of saying this is a wealth chart. I did, for some reason, the word income slipped by my brain, but it is an income chart. Now look at this chart. Now what you notice is that every race in the chart, you got Asians at the top in the green, you got whites below in the blue, you got the Hispanics in the baby blue, and the black people in the yellow. Every race no race ever crosses any other race. There's never a point where the blacks pass the Hispanics, Hispanics pass the whites, whites pass the Asians. Every group that starts at the top finishes at the top on this chart, which is really, really interesting. So there's not been any sort of major transformation that's taken place in terms of income on this chart. But what I also want you to notice is what they call correlation. Now, correlation is almost like the way, like if the wind blows to the east, a bunch of leaves will also blow to the east. If the wind blows to the west, the leaves and the dust will blow to the west, right? So what you see here, remember when Barack Obama used to talk about the rising tide will lift all boats. And what that kind of means is that there are big factors where if something big happens in the economy, everybody goes up, everybody goes down. So Barack Obama's argument, which was a false argument, which was a misleading argument, unfortunately, but his argument, which was a lot like trickle-down economics, that argument for Reagan, which is also a flawed argument, was that if he helped the whole economy, everybody would move up, and as a result, black people would move up too. Never once did he sort of make any sort of argument about black people actually catching up with whites or surpassing whites. That he was not allowed to talk about that because he's a president of a white supremacist society, and white supremacy does not reward you for being radical and black. With that said, though, I want you to look and notice with the whites, Hispanics, and blacks, you see a connection. When the whites go down, everybody, the Hispanics and the blacks go down. When the whites go up, the Hispanics and the blacks go up. The rising tide is lifting the boats or sinking the boats. They're all flowing and ebbing and flowing together. The only one that is not flowing with everything else is the one in the green. Look at the Asians. The Asians are not on the same wavelength as everybody else. You know, there are times where everybody goes down and the Asians go up. There's times where where everybody goes up and the Asians go way up, right? It's a jagged edge. It's not smooth. It doesn't flow with the rest of the chart the way the whites, Hispanics, and blacks flow. That is significant if you look at this chart. What I'm really seeing here, Dr. Anderson, I'd like for you to get this, to give me your take on this, because you know more about Asian culture than I do. But what I really see here is this. What I see is that the reason Asian wealth is at the top and Asian wealth doesn't always follow the same path and trajectory as everybody else is because Asians do things different. If you do different, you're going to get different. Asian communities are very, they do a lot of powernomics. They're very closed off economically. They tend to, from what I've seen, be very entrepreneurial. They have lots and lots of family businesses, much more so than the black community. Education is extremely important. I had a friend that went to USC and he was Asian. He said, I was considered to be a failure because I didn't go to Harvard or Yale. When I made a B on my report card, my mother acted like it was an F. The fourth thing is that a lot of studies show that actually Asians don't vote. People will go around and tell you all day, black people need to vote. You need to vote to get ahead. Asian community does not vote the way black people do. But yet they're still at the top of the pile when it comes to wealth. So Dr. Anderson, given that the Asian community's wealth or income kind of moves a little bit different from everybody else, I think it's because they do things different. And that's what I've been telling black folks in the Black Business School, that if you do what everybody else is doing, you're going to get what everybody else is getting. The number one thing I want to encourage people to do is that if you want to get different, you must do different. We must do something different from what we've done before. We must do something different from what we've been taught. We must do something different from all the backward Negroes that are going to get left behind, because that is how you and your family are going to be able to win. Dr. Anderson, I'm going to quit talking. I'd love to get your interpretation of what we're seeing on this chart and the differentials between Asians and blacks.
Go back to the chart again, Boyce.
Sure, absolutely. There you go.
Okay, now look at that chart again, because you hit every nail on the head. You did an excellent presentation a few seconds ago. Now look at that chart. You talked about a rising tide. See, people like your politicians give you that BS quite often. I remember when Jesse used to use that expression, rising tide will lift all boats. And that way everybody can use very broad and ambiguous terms. And then the programs they develop, they say, well, we're gonna come out with a healthcare program for all the people. We're gonna have this for poor people. We're gonna have this for minorities. We're gonna have this and go on people of color and all this kind of stuff. They never ever deal with the specificities of saying, how about black people? And what they fail to understand is that they look at that chart. from the top of that chart where you got the Asians with the green, all the way down to the bottom where you got the orange or the orange with the blacks. Black folk are not inside this system. So if it's just like an ocean, pretend that those waving lines were waves on an ocean, and that's the water moving. Black folk are outside and underneath the system, which says that I don't give a damn whether you got a good time or a bad time in the society. Black people are outside and underneath. So even if a boat was raised up, you're still under the bottom of the boat, which means you don't, just because a boat now is no longer underneath, it's not a submarine, it's not on top of the water, but the bottom of the boat is still underneath the water. That's why black folk don't benefit whether it's good times or bad times. And we're getting ready to go into some bad times coming up next year. And black folk are still outside and underneath it. Now, in terms of the Asians, the reason the Asians do so well is some of the reasons you already said. One is that the Asians have no inclination to talk about social integration or putting anybody else's group before their own. They're not inclined to do that. They will not do it. As a matter of fact, when I had my seafood industry, they told me, said, Dr. Anderson, you're the only business right in the United States that Asians will buy from. They only buy from their own people. And they only buy from their own people, period. That's point one. And point two, they will never hire black folk. They only hire their own people. You cannot go to an Asian restaurant or an Asian business seeing the black people working. They don't play that. They play based on self-interest, putting your own self-interest first. Just like I've told black folk for centuries, put your own self-interest first. Now, Asians also, second thing Asians do is that 1 out of every 10 Asians are in business. That's why that green line at the top was so high, because the wealth that you're looking at, that income line you're looking at, that's coming from income from businesses. That's what it's coming from. It's coming from businesses. And that's green, that's where they get their money from. 1 out of every 10 Asians in businesses. You go down to the next line, drop down back to, show that line again, that chart again.
Yep. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up right now. Hold on. Shoot, I'm sorry, Dr. Anderson. You know what? I have lost.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Actually, I just found it. Sorry about that. I'm messing around with this screen here. Oh, okay, there you go.
Okay. Now I said green. 1 out of every 10 Asians are in business, and they're educated to be in business. They are told when they go get that education is extremely important. And when you go to school, you try to make sure that you get nothing less than an A. And you go to the best schools and get the best education as quickly as you can, so that when you graduate after 4 years of college and you graduated with a degree, what do you do then? Then they say after 5 years, you must now be prepared to go out and get a job. You go to get a job. Then when you get a job, you work in a particular job for no more than about 1 or 2 years. Then you learn something about it. That job should be in a particular industry or a conglomerate of businesses. You learn a specific skill. If you're working in a shoe factory, you may learn how to be a repair person in repairing shoes or gluing the shoes. Then after 2 or 3 years, you quit. Then you go get another job. But the second job you get as an Asian, you get it in the same industry. You go and get another job in a shoe industry. This time you try to get a job as being the salesperson in that industry. And how do you sell and market the products and learn about it? You only work there for about 2 to 3 years. The Asians have a philosophy then that by the 3rd year or 4th year, after you graduate from school, you must now be prepared to go into business. You must be prepared to go. So the 5th year, you must leave it now and go start your own business. And what they used to do in Asia, they have a little stick. They teach their kids by whipping them on the legs about this. Saying, what are you gonna do? I'm going to school. They whip on the legs. How long are you gonna be in school? Now, what are you gonna do in school? I'm gonna get all A's, whip them on the legs. How long, when you graduate, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna get me a job in a particular business or industry. How long are you gonna be there? 2 or 3 years, whip them on the legs. Then when you leave there, what do you do? He said, now I should be prepared to go in business on my own. So they go to this country, the first thing they do when they get off a boat, they will find them a building and set up a coffee shop. Or set up something in the alley where they're selling something. They are all prepared to go into business. Or they be on the street corner selling handkerchiefs or umbrellas or eyeglasses, anything. They're all inclined to be entrepreneurs. They've been taught that through their schools and all the way up. But for the blacks that's on the bottom of that orange, Nobody teaches that. Nobody teaches that. They came close to doing that when they had Booker T. Washington all the way back in the and doing Jim Crow segregation. You go to school, black kids went to school, but black kids found out by the time they got to the 8th grade, they were introduced to certain concepts, and girls were introduced to domestic services like cooking and sewing and all this kind of stuff. The boys then might be in just take wood shop. They learn how to make wood, use wood to make bird houses or shoe shine boxes, whatever it is. But by the time they graduated from 8th grade and went to high school, they now said, when you get to the last 2 years in high school, you must go into a trade. And so blacks in schools in the South in the old days, they had to choose a trade. They could be going to bricklaying. They spend the last 2 years in school in bricklaying. They could go into wood shop, woodwork, carpentry, or they could go into automobile mechanics, or they can go into electric work, or they go into plumbing, or they go into a machine shop. They could not graduate from a high school in the South doing segregation without having a skill, Nowadays, black high schools don't teach blacks a damn thing. Right now, I go to a city like Detroit, Michigan. Half of the black kids that start the 1st grade can't even graduate from high school. Half of them don't even graduate from high school. And out of the half that do graduate, Dr. Watkins, their reading level is on their 5th or 6th grade level. I got blacks now that black folk are now, instead of teaching their kids businesses, they used to teach them trade. They don't teach them trade anymore, and they damn sure don't teach them any business. So what happens? I can find black kids now all of them being encouraged to go get a college education. For what? Just like voting. I keep asking, I'm going to go vote. I say, for what? What are you going to get? Oh, you're going to go to school and get a college education. For what? If you don't have a business and you're going to not have a business or a community to bring it back to, why are you going to get a college education? So I drive around in the city and go into a Burger King or a McDonald's or a Taco Bell and drive through the window, and there are black folk now serving with college degrees, working in seafood, in Taco Bell, McDonald's, Burger Kings, because they got an education with a bachelor's degree. Some of them got master's degrees, but don't master a damn thing. They got no, education is a tool. Where are they going to apply it? Well, I can only apply it if I go into a white business school. We don't have any businesses. We don't have any communities. And in those communities, we got neighborhoods. And in those neighborhoods, we don't have any businesses. So I got a college education, but I'm back to what we were doing slavery. I got to be used. So if some white person give me a job, I can make some money. If they don't give me a job, I got to go work. I got to go mop floors. Black folk don't get down the system. And I try to do that, try to teach them that when I was over education for the state of Florida from 1970 to 1977. But I just can't get it to black folk head. Education is a tool. That's why it's on the 5th floor in my Powernomics principles. It's on the 5th floor, not the 1st floor. The 1st floor is economics. The 5th floor is an education. And education is like voting, is totally useless if you haven't got a place to apply it and then connect it up to where it brings in money and wealth and resources and power.
Right on. I love that. Everybody, this is Dr. Claud Anderson, author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. And I want you guys to make sure you understand what he's saying. He's not saying that education isn't important. He's saying that education is, maybe you can compare it to having wheels on a car. You need the wheels, but you really need the engine to make the wheels worth anything. Or, a car with just wheels with no engine in the car isn't going to go very far. So you have to have an economic base in order for your education to matter, because if you don't have the economic base, then you're not going to have a place to apply the education in a way that's going to be productive for you. And actually, you guys who've actually signed your kids up for our wealth building program for children, which is at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com, one of the things that we teach your children is the KID model of building a wealthy child. And that stands for knowledge, investment, and discipline. And basically the components of that model were built on the idea that you should educate your child about wealth, but you must invest so your child has resources and an economic base to apply that knowledge. Because if they have knowledge and no resources, then that's like being a well-trained soldier that does not have any weapons. A well-trained soldier that has no weapons can only be a soldier for hire. So an educated child who has no resources, who has no place to apply the knowledge, knowledge that they have is going to end up working for a white man and applying their knowledge to making a white man rich. So I want you guys to kind of understand what this means. And this is why education has to be shifted. If you want to know what I think about the educational system, I don't give a damn about the public school system because I don't believe they're ever going to educate your children properly. Black people need to own our own schools. We need to build our own schools, and we could do that tomorrow if Negroes would get out of the mindset in which we will go give $1 billion to Disney because they put out a movie, but can give $1 billion to the education of our children. That don't make no damn sense. That's why you're falling behind. It's not a mystery. It's not like it's confusing. It's not like it takes calculus to figure it out. This is 1 + 1 = 2. Not acting and not moving forward means you're going to get left behind. So what are you confused about? Why are you wondering why you're left behind? It's because you ain't doing nothing and you're doing all the wrong things. You're putting all your money in the wrong places, and that's why you ended up making these mistakes. So actually, before I go to Dr. Anderson, I want to ask you about one more thing, Dr. Anderson, before I let you go. I want to say thank you to those who made donations in the chat. The reason I don't call out the donations right away is because I give respect to the elder who made me possible, and that's Dr. Claud Anderson. So when he's talking, I become the student. I know when to zip it up and shut up. So I want to say I know that I see you more melanin, please. I saw your donation, sister, and I appreciate you very much. I see the Not Dumb podcast. Thank you for your donation. I saw some other names in here, and if I miss your name, please do not take offense. I promise I'm not trying to be rude. I'm trying to make sure we hold on and acknowledge as many people as possible. Also, I see a donation in here from a couple more people. It's not clicking and showing me your name. So I'll try to see if I can pull it up before we're done. But I want to say thank all of you for supporting the platform. And we really, really appreciate that very, very much. And just because I didn't say your name doesn't mean I don't appreciate you. Oh, here we go. Brother Kofi says, if everyone in this chat invested $100 into a business startup, that will be a great first step, a staple or service that takes money out of our community. That's a great idea. And actually, we're going to do some more stuff in the Black Business School to kind of build on that idea. I've actually made some contacts with people around the country and around the world that have some business projects you can invest in. We're just sort of putting everything in order right now. So there will be action that we can follow up on with this. So Dr. Anderson, let me ask you this question about, and you feel free to add anything based on what I said as well. I want to ask you about Donald Trump's impeachment. I assume you saw that he was impeached. The Democrats went through a lot of work to put him on trial. He's going to go before the Senate, and a lot of people are saying that the Senate is not going to remove him from office. I personally felt like that makes it all a waste of time. That we have a country that has a lot of problems, and they're spending all their time doing something that isn't going to amount to anything other than political theater. What goes through your mind? You are a political expert, a seasoned politician. You were the head of if I'm not mistaken, you were the head of education for the entire state of Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You run campaigns for presidential candidates, things like that. So what do you see when you see what's going on in Washington right now?
About the same thing you see. It's a form of entertainment. You can sit there and watch the debates, or you can sit cut on a football game or basketball game. You come out with the same ending. Neither one of them, but someone you might make you feel good, but you're not going to get anything out of it. That's the first thing. The second thing is that Black folk in politics have no allies and no friends in politics. And again, you have to understand that throughout history, the current Democratic Party is the old racist party that started slavery. See, Democrats enslaved Black folk from the beginning of the country, when the country was founded and the Constitution was enacted, all the way up until the 1860. It was the Democrats. The Democrats were the ones that were enslaving you. Democrats are the ones that were profiting. Democrats were the ones that were being enriched by your labor. Democrats were the ones that were lynching and castrating you. Democrats were the ones that were raping your daughters and your wife and selling your kids off into slavery. It was a Democratic Party. They did that up until 1860. Okay? Now, and then after the Civil War, then the Blacks were freed. The Blacks jumped out of slavery, and guess what they did? They jumped into the Republican Party because Lincoln was a Republican at that time. So all blacks jumped into the Republican Party, and they stayed in the Republican Party for about 1860 up to about 1940s. And guess what they got after they left slavery and jumped into the Republican Party? They got re-enslaved, called Jim Crow semi-slavery, segregation. They got re-enslaved by the Republican Party up until about the 1940s. Then they said, damn, when the whites, the Dixiecrats were Democrats, they were enslaved and messing over. We became Republicans and they screwed over and do a damn thing. And so by the so they said, we're gonna get out of here and go back and become Democrats. So they jumped, so by the late 1950s, early 1950s, blacks decided to get out of the Republican Party and become Democrats. And when they say they're going to become Democrats, guess what? The redneck conservatives in the South says, hey, we are the ones that enslaved black folk for 360 years. And we re-segregated black folk and re-enslaved them for another 100 years. But now these Negroes got the nerve to come and try to join the Democratic Party. We're going to get the hell out of here. So let's go into the closet, switch our clothes, change our uniform, put on a different color, and let's become the Republicans. So when these black folk walk out of the Republican Party in the late 1940s and the early 1950s, let us walk across the street and become the new Republicans. While the blacks are leaving the Republican Party to become Democrats. They've been playing switch on black folk. And so now the Confederates, the Southern Confederates, the racists, the first terrorists in America that were Democrats and doing slavery and tried to destroy the country through a civil war. They tried to, redneck states of the South tried to destroy the country again in the civil rights movement in the 1960s. And now they're going to try to destroy it again through the Trump administration. Trump administration represents the Southern red states, same ones that they call themselves Republicans now, and they used to be Democrats. They're now going to try to destroy the country. That's why Trump would do anything he wants to. There's nothing that you can do to stop him, because those red states say this is our third try to destroy this country and bring it down. And they set up back in 1830s through the Missouri Compromise, where blacks became 3/4 of a human being. They set up this thing called the Electoral College to make sure the South stayed in control. Remember now, the Southern redneck states were in control of this country from the founding and with the Constitution in the 1700s all the way up to 1860. The Southern states were in control. They controlled government. They controlled all the politics. After the Civil War, the South took over the politics again and controlled it all through segregation through the early 1900s up to the 1960s. The Southern states, the redneck states, were still controlling this country. That's why all your military bases are in the South, because they want the power in the South. The Southern rednecks want the power, the resources. And the biggest power in this country was wealth power. And wealth power came out of what? They call it slave power. Slave power was in the South. That was the biggest power in this nation. So when Donald Trump begins to run for office, what does he say? Let's make America great again. Now put your hand on here and say, hold a second. Make America great again, based on what Dr. Anderson is telling us. When was America great? It was great between the formation of the Constitution all the way up to the 1860s, when blacks were enslaved, all the way up through the second Jim Crow segregating and semi-enslaving black folk, up to the 1960s. The only time this country was great and became a power was during slavery and Jim Crow semi-slavery. That's the only time it had any major power. That's where the wealth came from the red states in the South. That's why the Southern states right now, that are red states that voted Trump, gave him the Electoral College vote, they're still seeking to take over this country again, to be the great power. Now, where are black folk? Black folk keep going back and forth from one party to the next. And they listen to naive people in politics saying, well, the way we get something is that we can't be monolithic. We got to split ourselves up and divide ourselves up between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Your IQ cannot be over 5. If you let somebody tell you that the best way you get power is to divide yourself up, make yourself a minority. That for some of you become Republicans and some of you become Democrat, then you got power. That's one of the second biggest lies ever told. Because you got to play a monolithic. You must play as a monolithic group. You must stick together and play as a team. And what black folk have never decided to do is to play as a team. Now, let's take the Democratic Party, where the black folk are today. Right now, black folk are in the Democratic Party. They control about 38 to 40% of the Democratic Party vote. The Democratic Party's vote power, Dr. Watkins, its power is in the Democratic Party, but it's in the black vote. That is the base of the Democratic Party. The base of the Democratic Party is the black vote, about 38 to 40%. Now, the others are made up of some white women, some gays, some little bit of Hispanics. Hispanics divide themselves between both parties. Asians divide themselves between both parties because they're not a third rail in the society. Nobody hates them. Black folk are the hated group, the pariahs in the society. So black folk cannot afford, they're an out group, the official out group. The pariah on the bottom of those lines, wealth lines, income lines, they're outside the system. They can't afford to divide themselves between parties. So, but the Democrat, what they need to do is say, okay, Democratic Party, since we are 38 to 40% of the population, we're not going to vote for you unless you put something on the table for us. You must start demanding. They've been using you as a pawn. You're a pawn in the Democratic Party. They take you for granted because they know you ain't got enough damn sense to demand anything, and you haven't sat down and planned and read these Powernomics books and these Black Labor, White Wealth books and these dirty and Black history readers and say, here's what we want and here's what we're going to demand. We're going to demand on a quid pro vote basis, quid pro vote, that we want something for our vote. What are you going to, here's what we want, blah, 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 blah. And otherwise you're going to contract for it, you'll never get our vote. But see, Black folk are not going to do that. They've been misled so long, they're going to go give up and vote for nothing and get nothing. There's a power in the Black vote. The 38 to 40% has power. And in the next one of the topics I'm going to draw on one day, I'm going to explain how they got power. At 38 to 40% is power in the voting if they learn how to play it and use it. But now they don't do it, they give it away and get nothing in return. They don't demand anything from Pelosi or from the Democratic Party. They run a few candidates. And to go back to the question, the answer I gave you a few minutes ago, the question in voting, the question in getting an education should be education for what? And voting for what? Never say I'm voting for a candidate. Who gives a damn? The candidate's immaterial. What are you going to get for voting for that candidate? What commitments he's made to you? That's the problem. No candidate in the history of this nation has ever promised anything specifically to deliver to Black folk in 460 years, nor ever they ever delivered anything for Black folk. But they tell Black folk, they did the same thing in our running campaign as well. If we give it to everybody, and way we avoid doing anything to you Black folk, because you're a pariah, and you're an underclass, and because of the gag room, well, we're gonna bullshit you and tell you that if we do something for everybody, it'll help you. So therefore, you're stupid enough to go for it. We say we're gonna pass a healthcare bill. Y'all might be able to get lucky to get something out of that on a catch-as-catch-can basis. Or we're gonna improve the highways. We're gonna improve the schools, put more money into the schools. They're never gonna say we're gonna do something for Black folk. So consequently, Blacks don't get anything. None of the Black candidates gonna promise anything for Black folk because Black folk don't demand. And one day I'm gonna spend a whole session one day telling you how you can monetize and empower your vote in the Democratic Party and get the hell out of the other party and vote as a block. And that's in the Powernomics book. You read that section that you know about. Read the section, I think it's chapter 7 in the Powernomics book. Tell your listeners to go to the powernomics.com and go over and buy the library pack. There's 5 books they can get. And out of that, there'd be Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and Dirty Little Secrets 2, and the Black History Reader. And go to chapter 7, you'll find out how to play politics and win. Right now, you're not gonna win. And if Black folk don't get their act together, this is the last time in the history of this nation that Black folk have a chance to break out and really do something and save themselves. This is it. The 2020 is it. They don't go in there and demand and get resources. Don't worry about no damn civil rights and social integration. Go in and get a massive reshifting of resources into the hands of Black folk. That's why Martin Luther King said before he died, he said, I think I made a big mistake. I've led Black folk into a burning building. They've gotten nothing for it. And so consequently, if they don't play the game to win based on Powernomics principles, they can hang it up. That's why this might be my last year, 2020. I'm not gonna play the game with them. I spent all my life trying to explain this to them. They keep listening to the talking heads, the Blacks on TV coming on the news and don't ask from a hole in the ground telling you about how to play politics. They don't know how to play politics. That's why the Democrats never win. Today's Democrats don't win. The Republicans play hardball. They play to win. And because they're based on power, resources, and their base. Their base is a redneck base, the military, the major corporations. And with Black folk, their base is the weak, the meek, and the freaks. They never get anything.
Well, I want to say thank you to George Younger for your donation. I appreciate it. I see you in there. And Miss Arroyo is asking, did you receive my book, Brown Round Bread Sandwich? Thanks, Dr. Anderson. I did not receive the book. I'm very sorry. I get a lot of. Have you heard of the book Brown Round Bread Sandwich, Dr. Anderson?
No, I have not.
I haven't either, but I just said brown round bread sandwich 3 times on the podcast is going to be viewed probably by 100,000 people. So you just got some really good free advertising, which is open to everybody who makes a donation in the chat. You make a donation in the super chat, mention your business, mention your book, whatever the case may be. And what I'll do is I'll recite it back, and that's how you market your product. A lot of Black businesses start up and they don't have a marketing budget. And when you don't market, no one will know about your product. Don't think that just because you make it, people are going to come. You got to have a marketing plan. And so we have this platform that has hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And one of our goals is to help the community to achieve your goals. So feel free to put something in the super chat. I'll shout it right back at you. Also, please do me a favor. If you haven't done it yet, please hit the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button right now. Hit the subscribe button right now. Also, we have a Black financial channel. We needed a Black version of CNBC. We needed a Black version of what Fox Business does and all the all the other networks do. So we created the Black Financial Channel, theblackfinancialchannel.com, where we do daily financial news and commentary from a Black perspective. So if you're interested in wealth and money and how all that works, sign up at theblackfinancialchannel.com. It's growing very, very fast. Some of you were asking about the wedding. How can you get access to the wedding? I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm going to put up an Eventbrite, and everybody, you can RSVP and come to the wedding. Everybody's invited. It's going to be on the south side of Chicago, July 11th. And there's also some other events coming up. Reminder, Dr. Claud Anderson and I are going to do a masterclass, a 6-week Powernomics implementation small group masterclass that we're going to announce at the start of the year. You can find out more about some of the things we have going on at drboyceseminars.com. That's drboyceseminars.com. We're not going to let that many people in because I want it to be a small group where you can ask him questions and we will answer every single question that's asked. So if you're interested in implementation strategies for Powernomics, as well as a chance to get a certificate from the Black Business School that you can put on your wall, certificate of accomplishment, then feel free to join that class. So anyway, last but not least, Powernomics.com is where Dr. Anderson's books can be found. His books are Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2, and The Black History Reader. These are great books. These would make great gifts for your family. Please go to Powernomics.com and take a look. Don't do it for him. Don't do it for me. You're not doing us a favor. I want you to do yourself a favor, because you think about this. His Power Pack is $99. Some of y'all going to drop $99 on things that have absolutely no value whatsoever. I saw people spend more than $99 going to the movies and taking their kids out to eat. I've seen people spend $200 on a pair of sneakers and they ain't going to do nothing except make your feet sore for about 6 months until you throw them in the garbage. These books, Dr. Anderson's work and his research changed my life. I mean, I read his books and I could see things a lot more clearly, and it filled in the gaps. It gave me an education I never got. And I have more education than 99% of all people. I had a PhD at the time when I read Dr. Anderson's books, and I'm reading stuff for the first time, and I'm kind of mad because I'm thinking, what were they teaching me all those years? They were teaching me a bunch of bullshit, and what it does is it helps you understand what's really going on in America, how America works. And I'm telling you, please believe me when I tell all of you that Black people should not be getting educated by white people. I don't dislike white folks. This is not anti-white. They have proven to you that they are going to tell you lies, that they're going to educate you in the wrong way and leave you powerless just by virtue of the fact that half our kids are coming out of school and can't even read. Most of our kids are broke. A lot of our young people can't hardly do anything. They feel completely unempowered because we're handing the power over to other people. So don't give your power to people who don't love you. Give it to somebody like a Dr. Anderson who's going to give you something back. So the website is powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. And I'm going to let you get the last word, Dr. Anderson. Everybody, please hit the thumbs up button right now. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do that. Dr. Anderson, I'll let you end it up for us as we walk on out of here. Any other thoughts?
I think you topped it off well by telling them for Christmas, get that power pack, a library pack, those books. And when the snow is falling outside, it's cold outside, get yourself a warm place around a fireplace and open up those books and say, damn, you open up those books, it's going to open up your mind, open up your creativity, and give you some general thoughts on how to be able to survive and compete in our society economically and politically. And then after you get them, they send a note back to the Powernomics Corporation. Thank God that you set me free at last. just like Martin Luther King. And what I want you to do, I'm gonna sign off with you right now. But I got one question I still want to ask you. So if you do me a favor, once you go off tonight, call me right back in about 5 or 10 minutes. Let me ask you a question that's very important, something I need to know. Call me right back. Can you do that?
Well, you know what we can do is I can go ahead and end the live stream, and you just stay right there, and I can just talk to you right here in private. So everybody, I'm gonna say goodbye. The Godfather has summoned me for a private conversation, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk to Dr. Anderson. I want to say you're very smart for being here. You're ahead of the curve. Don't listen to the know-nothing Negroes. Do not let the Negro naysayers in your family hold you back. Don't let those negative, stupid, ignorant ass people keep you from your greatness. You are meant to be great. Karen and Mrs. Marvelous and Brandon and Louise, Jack, the reason that you're here is because you have a vision for your family that's going to be different from everybody else. And I want you to implement that vision. I want you to trust me. Believe me when I tell you that if you plant the seeds now, you will get the harvest, but you must plant the seeds, even if nobody else is planting seeds, because that's how you're going to get the harvest. That's how you're going to win. Every Black person ain't going to have zero wealth in 2053. The people, the know nothing Negroes are going to have zero wealth. The ones who are doing what white folks are telling them to do, they're going to have zero wealth. The ones who are continuing to do what we've been doing, they're going to have zero wealth. Your family is going to do very well because you're planting seeds right now. So keep planting your seeds. Don't ever give up. Keep moving forward. You are the greatest. You can't be stopped, and you will win. I guarantee it. Always keep hope moving forward, and do your very, very best. And I promise you, no matter how hard it is, it's going to get better. And I had to just share that with you. God told me to say those words to you, so I'm sharing it with you because I know some of y'all might be in tough places right now. And I'm gonna tell you, every day I wake up and I see ignorance all around me, and I'm just trying to give you something that'll hopefully elevate your spirit. So happy holidays, everybody. You guys will see me again real soon. I love you, and please hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.